Hey guys, this is the mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today as I take a deeper look into the most recent episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 4, Episode 15, I believe. I don't know what episode it is because I'm not going to double check right now, but I'm not going to be doing a full episode recap as there are plenty of other content creators who do a great job of this. Instead, I'm going to focus on specific segments of the episode that I believe can be used as teachable moments for myself and the audience. So in this episode, I guess the focus was the married couples going on a retreat with Dr. Francis and his wife. It was a couples retreat for therapy, couples therapy. I love Dr. Francis's role in this episode. I love the fact that he has his own confessional. I think that he should have a more integral role on the show. Unfortunately, a lot of the antics among the cast members can be immature, and I think that it's good to have an objective professional analyzing some of the characters on the show. I mean, a lot of us are already doing that in these spaces on YouTube and social media. We're already doing that, but to have a professional that's on the show interacting with the cast members is absolutely perfect. I hope that they give him a spot on the intro where he's like putting a flower in his lapel, walking with his cane, whatever, something to show that he's arrived and he's officially a cast member. He's been there since season 1, I believe, or season 2 at the latest. But I think season 1 he was there. I forget. My memory is foggy. But yeah, he was, helping the couples to figure out some of the issues in their relationship. Kimmy and her husband Maurice were there. Tisha and Marcel were there. They arrived late. And Tiffany and her husband Louis was there. And Tiffany basically was exposed for using Louis for emotional stability and comfort. A lot of times relationships or marriages end because the two people in the relationship have different objectives, right? One person may be with their partner because they love them, they enjoy their company, they want to spend more time with them, they want to build their life with them. And the other couple or the other person within that relationship may be using their partner as an emotional band-aid because they can't be by themselves, right? And this is when you have clashes. Now, there's some men and some women who are okay. There's some men and some women who are okay with being with somebody who's broken and who's with them because they need them, not because they want them, right? They are okay with being used as long as they have access to that person. I'm not sure if Louis is at that position. I'm not sure if Louis knows why Tiffany really wants to be with him or if he really cares. Some men don't care. Okay, just like some men don't care if their preference uses them for money. Some men don't care or women don't care if their partner needs them. Like a lot of women date men that would be considered below their pay grade in a sense. They date men who are struggling. They date men who have a lot of issues because they don't want to be alone. And they know that man doesn't really want to be with them, but he has no choice. And because that woman or that man is desperate for companionship, they'll be okay with settling for somebody who's with them out of desperation and need, not because they want to be with that partner, right? So the dynamics are different for every single couple. Martell and Melody, initially, they shared a common goal, I think, in their relationship as far as building a business and being successful. But over time, their goals began to clash, and there was some incompatibility as far as what Martell wanted in a marriage and what Melody wanted in their relationship. So that is when you have divorce. That is when you have affairs. When the two people in a relationship no longer see eye to eye on what they're together for. Why are you here, right? Initially, it was for love and companionship. Then we find out that Tiffany, she may be using Louis as an emotional band-aid. Most of the audience and most of the content creators already peaked game with Tiffany. We sensed that there was some level of emotional disconnect. And I sense that Tiffany and Melody are similar in this regard. There was an emotional disconnect in their relationship. So Tiffany, and I think Melody did too, towards the end, started to use their work to compensate for other issues that they were having in their relationships and also to cope with some of the personal issues they had outside of their relationship, right? Melody came to the relationship with baggage and so did Martell. Tiffany came to their relationship with baggage, and so with Louis. So initially, people's baggages may be compatible, right? My shadow side may be compatible with your shadow side. So my issues are compatible with your issues. So we're going to come together and, try to work things out by building a life together and learning from each other and growing as a couple. That is what Martell and Melody were doing. That is what Tisha and Marceau are doing. That is what Kimmy and Maurice are doing. And I think that is what Louis and Tiffany may be trying to do. Dr. Francis called out everybody on this show. But I loved when he said that Louis philosophizes his feelings. He takes an objective stance and he pulls himself away from feeling his feelings. He thinks through his feelings. A lot of people with Mercury opposite moon do that. When I was younger, I used to do it all the time. I used to make sense of my feelings and rationalize what they were to disconnect from them, right? And he peeped that about Louis, and I think he is doing that. I think Louis is willing to compromise in his relationship more than Tiffany, because Tiffany, in my opinion, does not want to be with Louis as much as Louis wants to be with her. I don't want to say what I really want to say. I'm going to wait until further notice as far as the episodes go to see if I'm correct in my suspicions about Tiffany. When Tiffany said that her husband was working himself like a dog and she cheated on him anyway, that was a huge red flag for me, because I get the sense that Tiffany, she ends up marrying people or dating people who put her on a pedestal or who want her or need her more than she needs them. She is with Louis because she knows that Louis will have a harder time walking away from her than she would have walking away from him. And that is a way to maintain power and control in a relationship. Now, some people say that it's always best to marry someone who loves you more than you love them. Until what? Until the other person wakes up and says, you know what? I'm being treated like shit. I'm being treated with disrespect. This person has no regard for my feelings whatsoever. This person's taking advantage of me. And then the person who loved you more than you love them eventually leaves. And then there's drama, right? So I think that is what Martell sensed about Melody. I think Martell sensed that Melody loved herself more than she loved him, which is not a bad thing. That's what you're supposed to do. But a lot of men don't like that. A lot of men like women who, a lot of broken men. The men who are solid and strong, they actually prefer women who are strong themselves. But a lot of broken men like women who are also broken and women who love them, their man, more than they love themselves. Martell kept trying to crack and break Melody and he kept trying to test her and trying to make her feel anxious about losing him. So he would do things to disrespect her, to force her to prove how much she loved him, because he always had the sense that she really loved herself too, right? She always said, I love me more. And that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to love yourself more than anybody. Not in a narcissistic way, but during the counseling session, they had an exercise where the couples tied their legs together with this rope, right? And Marceau and Tisha did a great job. Kimmy and Maurice struggled, and Louis and Tiffany struggled, right? And Dr. Francis said this exercise was a way for them to see how well they worked together on the aspects of their lives that were intertwined, like the children and resources and jobs. But he also wanted them to see that there was a part of themselves that was still free and independent, right? Regardless of their relationship. And I think what he was trying to show them was that having your own independent life does not have to take away from your relationship, right? As a matter of fact, having your own independent life, right? Having that free arm and that free leg actually is supposed to strengthen the bond you have together. So, because they had one joined leg together, they had to move in unison. But the free leg and the free arm was actually leading them and guiding them to help them move together smoothly as they were walking. I love the exercise because a lot of people think that when you get married, your independence is gone. Like, you don't have a life outside of that relationship. That doesn't make any sense at all, and that's not going to work. I think the reason Tisha and Marcel did a great job is because Tisha knows how to compromise with her husband. They've been together for a long time. They know each other's rhythm. And Marcel and Tisha are both smart enough to know when to take a step back. Right? I think they're both Libras. They both know when to take a step back for the sake of their relationship. So Marcel may be less engaged, and so Tisha picks up the slack on her end. Tisha may become less engaged because of her other obligations, and Marcel picks up the slack on his end. There is a balance in exchange. But I mentioned that because earlier I mentioned Martell trying to break Melody and trying to get Melody to be more codependent on him instead of being interdependent with him. And Marcel brought up a great point that I was also going to mention. He said, yeah, because Dr. Francis said, you guys got to work together, blah, blah, blah. But Marcel said sometimes, though, you can compromise yourself to the point where it compromises the quality of the relationship. He didn't say that verbatim, but that's what it is, right? You cannot keep compromising with people who have personality disorders because you're going to compromise yourself into nothing. And that is what Melody was doing in seasons 1 and 2. She kept compromising with Martell. She kept taking him back. She had another baby with him. She fought him along the way, but she kept making concessions for his incessant demands that were never ending because he has an issue. So Marcel has made an excellent point, because I was going to say the same thing when he was like, you got to work together with your partner. You got to compromise for the sake of the relationship. That he got on Tiffany for prioritizing her work over that particular session. I get it. But there's a risk of you being married to the wrong person. And no matter how many concessions you make, no matter how many compromises you make, no matter how many times you put yourself last for the sake of your partner and for the children and for the relationship itself, right? You end up losing yourself like many women do. I forgot to mention earlier, not just men do it. Some women love codependent partners. Some women love men who need them, right? This is why they get with men with no jobs and no place to stay. That's sometimes the case. And some men love codependent women. That's why they tell certain women not to work, because I want you to be completely dependent on me and I want to take care of everything. So in case I do something wrong, you have nowhere to go. Not all men are like that, but that happens a lot of times. So yes, Marcel was correct. Both Marcel and Dr. Francis were correct. Compromise is necessary in a relationship. You have to make your partner a priority at some point. But imagine if Melody kept acquiescing to what Martell's demands were, right? She would still be married to Martell, who would have a baby on the side by now, right? Still be arguing with him, still making your body stressed and diseased, still stressed out. Her life would be a lot less fulfilling than it is now if she had continued to put Martell's needs as a priority, because he has issues. So you have to have the discernment as a person to say, you know what? Even though I'm willing to be in this relationship, there are certain lines that I will not cross. There are certain standards that I'm going to keep for myself. I'm not going to do this in this relationship for the sake of keeping this person. What are my standards? What are my boundaries? What am I not willing to put up with, right? What am I not willing to compromise on? If you're willing to compromise on every single thing, you may end up in a situation like Kimmy, in a sense, right? Kimmy made plenty of compromises for Maurice, okay? She waited 7 years to get married to him, right? She ended up having to take care of Munster as a stepmother more than she wanted to, right? She ended up having to wait a couple years for her to go on her honeymoon. She's made lots of compromises. I don't know how many compromises Maurice has made for Kimmy, except not being able to smash 6 women in a day like he's used to, which is why he's always complaining about sex. I don't know what else he's done. And as I've said before, why would Maurice get a vasectomy if Kimmy is past childbearing age and she's already expressed she doesn't want any more children? Not a mastectomy, a vasectomy, right? Did I say that? A vasectomy with a V, not a mastectomy with an M. Why would he get that? But anyway, I'll discuss Kimmy a little bit later. But yes, the session with Dr. Francis was amazing because it shed light on many of the issues that Tiffany and Lou kept trying to talk around, right? They kept trying to present themselves as relationship gurus, but their relationship itself needed a lot of help. And again, I don't think Tiffany's going to stay with Louis once she realizes why she married him. I think once she gets to the point where she wants to be in her career, that she may be using to compensate for a lack of emotional fulfillment in her relationship. That could be the case. It may not be. I don't think that she'll stay with him in the long term, especially as Pluto enters Aquarius in next year. Within the next 7 years, this relationship more than likely won't be the same, or it won't exist at all. Okay, it can't continue the way that it is. So either Louis is going to realize, oh, I settled, or she settled for me. That's what I think happened. I think Louis may realize that his wife settled for him. Now again, some men are okay with that because of whatever reason, especially if their wife is a preference. I know I'm not that good looking. I'm not saying Louis in general, but I know I don't have it all together. I love this woman. She's with me. I don't care why. As long as we're together, it doesn't matter. Some people are cool with that dynamic. I'm not sure if Louis will be, but Tiffany, she's not with him. She's not really, I don't see any chemistry between them whatsoever. I never did. The fact that she keeps talking about I want a baby, I want a baby, I want a baby, but you're doing things that don't reflect what you say you want, that will be very, very irritating for me as a partner. I would feel like somebody was trying to pull the wool over my eyes. And I said this earlier. I said a few months ago, I believe, that I think that Tiffany is pushing, one of the reasons why Tiffany is pushing the whole baby thing is to give Louis the impression that she's more invested in their relationship than she actually is. I think I said this. It's almost like future faking in a sense, right? Yes, I love you so much. I want to be with you. Let's have a baby as a way to as a way to make him feel less insecure about their lack of intimacy in their relationship. Because if Louis notices that Tiffany is not as intimate with him and he's suspicious, she can just say, oh, I want a baby so badly. Just wait a minute. I want a baby. I do want a baby. He may think that she's still attracted to him physically. And he may think that she wants to make an investment in their relationship long term. Because a baby is 18 years. And a baby requires both parents to raise. That's what I think she's doing as well when it comes to the baby talk. I don't think she wants another baby like that. Because then you would have had another baby. You've been with this guy for 7 years. Why all of a sudden now having a baby is so significant and it's like, a point of contention in their relationship? It's almost like okay. It's almost like if Louis says no to the baby, she can use it as an excuse to do something else that she wants to do anyway, right? And I'm not saying that's 100% true. I'm just speculating here. But Dr. Francis also called it out and said she's using the baby to deal with her abandonment issues. That's one thing, yes. And I think that's true too. But another part is if Louis thinks that she wants to have a baby by him, he won't abandon her either, because she's treating him as if he's an accessory. She's not treating him, or she doesn't really engage with him like she's in love with him like that. Her body language, the way she looks at him, is just not there for me. Sorry. And a lot of people see it too. And not to call Tiffany out, I could be wrong. She could be one of those kind of people that kind of show their desire for somebody in covert ways. But I don't believe that's the case, because I've seen her. Okay? Let me not say it. Forget it. I've seen her on the show. All right? Interacting with other people. And she was a lot more flirtatious than she is with her own husband. And I'll leave it at that. I feel like Tiffany settles for men who want and need her more than she needs them. Right? I'm not saying she doesn't love Louis. I'm sure she loves him to an extent. I just think that as she starts to heal and figure out her life and herself more and deals with her trauma, she's going to realize that she's settled. Not because Louis is a bad guy, but because she treats Louis as if she doesn't want to be with him now. So whatever is missing in their dynamic, she's going to realize, oh yeah, I'm not really fully happy here. I want something else, right? I want, whatever she wants now that she's figuring herself out. That'll probably be an excuse to get a divorce too. But again, Dr. Francis did a wonderful job. Kimmy was calling out Tiffany and Louis for their hypocrisy, because Tiffany and Louis came on the show as if they were relationship experts, but they did not want to receive any advice from Dr. Francis. And Dr. Francis did call out Louis for being passive when it came to Tiffany. But I think that Kimmy was going a bit hard because, I don't know why she was still stuck on the fact that they came off of, that was last year. Why was she still so stuck on that? They really haven't been coming at the couples the way they used to in the past. I think they put that to the side, but I think Kimmy is still irritated by it because there may have been some truth to what Tiffany and Louis were saying, even though they were not really in a position to say it coming from the outside in. And the transparency that people are talking about when it comes to Tiffany isn't about her telling people the things that they already know, right? If you tell somebody things that they already know, then that's not really transparent. When you have hidden motives, people can sense that about you, right? And I think that the cast members and some of the audience sensed that Tiffany had hidden motives. So when they said you're not transparent, they're like, we know you're here and we understand what you're telling us, and you're telling us some stuff about your past, but that you're not telling us your motivations for being on the show. You're not explaining what drives you as a person, right? What inspires you as a person? Why did you get married to Louis? They don't trust her. And they sense that her being transparent or asking for transparency is a way for her to cover up other things she does not want them to know about her. I'm not sure if she's conscious of it, right? Or she may be conscious of it. Because again, the whole baby talk, to me, that's a way to future fake Louis into thinking that she's more invested in this relationship than she actually is. So she may know her motivations, but nobody else has a clear idea of what they are, but they can sense something is off, right? So yeah, the transparency talk was a way for Tiffany to kind of deflect from her true agenda. Again, I don't think she's a bad person. I don't think she means Louis any harm, but I think that she's an opportunist. And I think that once Louis no longer serves her, she will have no problem cutting him off. It'll be devastating to him, but in her mind is justified because she settled for him in the first place. That's what I honestly think. I could be wrong. I hope that I'm wrong. I don't want to be right here because this is horrible, right? I don't want Louis to get hurt. I don't want her to be hurt. But I don't feel like she married him for the right reasons, honestly. Now I'm going to talk about Martell and his mother. Okay, Martell, made an excuse to to make physical contact with Melody when he took the kids to her event. He gave her a high five twice. He's wanted to touch her hand. Narcissists are very sticky. They're sticky energetically. It's hard for them to let go of you at all. They may act like you're nothing. They may dismiss you, devalue you, and they have a whole new girlfriend or wife. But in the back of their mind, they're re-idealizing you. And they always want to keep a rotation of partners for narcissistic supply once this current relationship they're in goes through its own devaluation and discard phase. So it's almost like I'm going to keep a roster of women that I can, or men, women do it too, but men do this more than women. I'm going to keep a roster of women that are at my beck and call, right? And I'm going to love bond them into thinking that there's a future between us. Then I'm going to pull away from them, then discard them, and then triangulate with other women. And then 6 months or a year later, I'm going to come back and act as if, nothing ever happened. Martell wants to keep Melody in that rotation. And Martell wants to keep Melody emotionally engaged. So I think him popping up, and I said this before, it wasn't about the kids. It was about him making contact with Melody and having an excuse to be seen with her and around her and to touch her. He didn't have to give her a high five twice, right? He didn't have to do all that. But that was his way of having an energetic exchange with her. Stickiness. His mother is full of crap, talking about, I don't know what the problem is with so-and-so. I never did nothing, whatever the case may be. She needs to not be as bitter. She needs to be more open and receptive to your Martell's attempts to reconcile with her as far as on a co-parenting level and be friends again. What she doesn't understand is that her son is still abusing his ex-wife. He's still terrorizing her emotionally. For her to say, she got to get over it. This is why Melody does not want to be around her. Because she doesn't respect Melody as a woman. How dare you expect your ex-daughter-in-law, to forgive your abusive son after what you saw he did to her for years? How dare you even expect that as a woman? You couldn't even empathize with another woman. Yes, Miss Marlene was upset with Martell in seasons 1 and 2, but Melody does not have to love Martell unconditionally like Miss Marlene does. She doesn't have to do that, right? And I think that, Melody was right in creating distance between her and Miss Marlene for whatever her reasons were, because she has to protect her peace. And Miss Marlene and Martell are very close. And I feel like by her staying close to Miss Marlene, that would be a way for Martell to wedge himself back in Melody's life and keep her as a source of supply. And Miss Marlene would not protect Melody from Martell's attempts to get back in her life. He would not respect Melody's boundaries, and Miss Marlene will be okay with that. Oh, he still love you, girl. Give him one more chance. All this other crap, right? And she would not be supportive of Melody's attempts to move forward and leave Martell behind. So it was good for her to cut Miss Marlene off. It is sad, because they were close, and we saw how close they were in seasons 1 and 2. I always said that Miss Marlene looked more like Melody than her mom did in some sense. They look very similar. And their oldest daughter looks like Miss Marlene more than any of the other children. So they were very close. I can see that. However, when divorce happens, it is what it is. This is what happens when you raise a narcissistic child who can do no wrong. What else happened in this episode? Stormy is trying to rebrand herself, which is not a bad thing. There's no hate or shade against that. She's trying to rebrand herself as a woman who brings about peace and is spiritual and is loving, and so on and so forth. Although I do, I do acknowledge her attempts, right? And I do think that she's on the right path and she wants to do the right thing. Sometimes it seems a bit performative when these people do this type of stuff, because, let me just not get into it. Congrats to Stormy for trying to turn over a new leaf and to present herself or rebrand herself on the show, because I don't think that she wants to be perceived as ratchet. That would not be fair to her, and it would make sense. So I'm happy that she's bringing some of this new positive energy into the show. So just to recap quickly, I loved the couples retreat. I wish Martell and Melody could have gone. I think if they were in a better place where they're not ready to rip each other's heads off, they could have still gone to this retreat. Even though they're not a couple, they're still co-parenting. It would have been interesting to see Dr. Francis unpack that relationship. I think they never got the opportunity to do that, on the show. I mean, they had one session together, one episode, I think. But I really wish that Dr. Francis had more time on camera with Melody and Martell. I really, really do. But I think that he should be a permanent cast member, even if he pops up once in a while. As long as he can be in the opening credits with his little cane and his paperboy hat and his, flower in his lapel and his old school G stuff, I would love for him to be a permanent fixture on this show. It would have been great if Iyanla could have made an appearance on the show. I know that Sheree from Real Housewives of Atlanta, she made an appearance on Iyanla years ago, and Iyanla called her out for being materialistic and just superficial. That was years ago. So it would be cool if Iyanla could pop up, but I think Iyanla was supposed to be like that role, but that didn't work out too much because she called out Melody for being a performative spiritual person who wasn't really interested in the work. It is what it is. So the session was great. Everybody had great conversation. I love these types of talks. It reminds me of season 1 and 2, when the couples would be together at the dinner table and they would talk about their relationships, and it would be really calm, intellectual, peaceful, mature, grown woman and grown man conversation. In season 1, they had a cabin trip, I believe, and all the couples went. It reminded me of that, right? I love the vibes when the cast is not fighting and arguing. If Martell and Melody would have went, they would have probably torn the place down, and Dr. Francis would have probably been like, how dare you? He probably would have called out both of them, and so on. So yeah, I'm happy that Martell and Melody weren't there, but I think they could have, it would have been cool to see them there to try to work things out, and to, have Dr. Francis give some insight on how they can co-parent together without a lot of the drama that we've been seeing over the past couple of weeks. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to be posting my astrology readings later on today. That's on my new channel, not astrology, I'm sorry. I'm going to be posting my tarot readings later on today on my Mind of Lilith tarot page. The link is in the description box. I'm not doing any consultations for astrology this month. I'm not doing any readings for astrology this month either. I am doing tarot readings though, so if you want to order a reading, you can go to my website. The link is in the description box. I look forward to reading your comments. please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.